People's Radio United.
And our guest is extremely important because our guest is really good at what this show is about. He trains people in what we're going to be talking about today, and I have attended his trainings personally. I've seen how he works. I've seen how he explains this to people, and he does it phenomenally. So I'm very excited to have him here. What we're going to be talking about today is cop watching and filming police, which is, as we know, we've seen lately, cameras just seem to have a way of somehow malfunctioning or not being on when police are in these questionable situations, or the police departments won't release the footage, and we have to take their word for it, which kind of defeats the purpose. And there's other reasons it's important, which I'll let our guest explain, but he's going to talk about how to do this safely, how to deal with when the police harass you, why this is so important. He's going to explain how to do it right, because if you do it wrong, what you capture is useless in a court of law and may even be useless for media purposes. So all of these things he's going to bring together. My guest is Andrew Henderson. He is the president of Minnesota Cop Watch. Andrew, how you doing today?
Excellent, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited about this. You know, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm glad we were able to make a time here and get this going. So I'll dive right into it with you. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, the cop watching activities you do, and how you got into it.
Sure. Well, I should start off saying that I am the founder of Minnesota CopBlock. I am the Cop Watch coordinator for Communities United Against Police Brutality, and I do tons of stuff on my own. How I got into this is I grew up in the Frogtown area of St. Paul, which is a predominantly African-American neighborhood, and there was a lot of police activity in that neighborhood. People got treated different than they do in, say, you know, a more gentrified or whiter neighborhood. And I saw this growing up all my life. I mean, I wasn't picked on because, you know, I was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kid. So the police treated me different than they treated my African-American or Asian or Mexican friends. And later in life, I lived in the north end area of St. Paul. And when I was living there, I saw a gentleman walking down the street who was stopped by the police. The police pepper sprayed him, and when he was on the ground choking, I don't know if you've ever been pepper sprayed before, but that stuff is nasty. It makes your lungs feel like they're burning. You're just coughing. Your eyes are watering. And when this guy was on the ground, just in pain, a police officer kicked him square in the chest. He wasn't resisting. He was just laying there coughing, and somebody captured that with their cell phone. And that hit the news really hard. And I decided at that point in time that the way to expose some of this misconduct from police officers was to start filming them, to hold them accountable in that manner. So that's how I got my start filming police and keeping them accountable.
Fantastic. So now today you're doing this. How often do you go out? Where do you go? Tell us a little bit about the training you do and that sort of thing.
Sure. That's a little bit of a tough question to answer. I used to regularly go out and film police officers engaged in their duties. I used to go downtown a lot on Hennepin Avenue, bar closed, stuff like that, where police were harassing people at an alarming rate. Homeless shelters was another thing I used to hit up a lot. Nowadays, I'm busy with work and school and the family and all that. I don't have the time that I used to. But I'll still cop watch whenever I see an activity. If I see something going down, I'll stop and film it. If I'm driving down the street and someone's pulled over, I'll go park off to a side street and just walk up with my video camera, just to keep that scene safe. So I try to do it as often as possible. My main focus right now is education, to educate others to do what I do in their own communities. So I hold cop watch trainings with Communities United Against Police Brutality every so often. And that's open to the public. That's always free. Communities United Against Police Brutality has meetings every Saturday at 1:30 at 4200 Cedar Avenue in South Minneapolis. So if you're in Minneapolis, I suggest you go check out a meeting and learn more about Cop Watch and a whole bunch of other ways to keep police accountable and stuff like that.
Fantastic. So you've been doing these trainings, and I know when I left the cities, I was definitely seeing the results of that. We're seeing, there's more people out cop watching now and filming cops. So hats off to you for that. And people who aren't in Minneapolis and can't go to a Communities United Against Police Brutality meeting, but maybe don't know in their town who they can go to get information on this. You have a website where you have this information, and you have a Twitter account, and you have a Facebook account, and you're reachable. Could you explain to people how they can do that, how they can access these things or reach you with questions?
Sure. Well, I'd first like to point out my my website, which is www.thedrewks, THEDREWKS.com. I have a Know Your Rights section on there, section about filming the police, a section about the Cop Watch conference that I went to, jury nullification, a whole bunch of other great things that people should check out. There's just tons of resources, tons of videos, app suggestions. That's a great place. My Twitter is @thedrewks, same spelling. I don't post too much on there. Facebook is probably my biggest media outlet. And if you want to find me at Facebook, it's facebook.com/thedrewks, THEDREWKS. And I put out just a ton of information there.
Cool, and I certainly hope people will use that and reach you. I know I've known you personally for a while, and I know that you definitely, you kind of live for this. You kind of live for empowering people in this area. So, I definitely encourage people, reach out to this guy. He's definitely here for you. This is what he's about. So,